a century is upon us, and we have all the details.
We also break down the details of congressional and senatorial elections.
Studio G starts right now.
Welcome to Studio G. I'm Rio Lockenlolly.
And I'm Catherine Ho.
Despite the odds, Donald Trump has become the 45th President of the United States. Trump is the first person since Dwight Eisenhower to become president-elect without any political experience.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division.
Trump thanked his competitor, Hillary Clinton, who called Trump to concede the race. Clinton did not address her supporters, who gathered in a glass-ceilinged convention center for what they had hoped to be her victory party. Clinton's campaign advisor, John Podesta, addressed the crowd instead.
We are so proud of her. She's done an amazing job.
Hillary Clinton gave her concession speech this morning.
Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead. Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power. And we don't just respect that, we cherish it.
Clinton began to mend the raw feelings after the campaign just hours upon Trump praising the former Secretary of State at his victory party for her years of hard work. The two presidential nominees constantly bickered at one another throughout the general election campaign, with Clinton calling her opponent unfit to hold the Oval Office and Trump referring to his opponent as Crooked Hillary. Trump will take office January 20th, 2017.
Trump has many promises he wants to keep as President of the United States. Some of these promises he wants to accomplish in his first 100 days in office.
Donald Trump has some big changes in store for his first 100 days in office, which includes dealing with government corruption, immigration, and renegotiating trade deals. Trump promises that on his first day of office, he will clean up the corruption in Washington, D.C. He plans to do this by proposing a constitutional amendment that would put term limits on every member in Congress. He also wants to put a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials from becoming lobbyists, along with a lifetime ban on White House officials from lobbying on behalf of other countries. Part of his first 100-day pledge is to protect American workers by renegotiating NAFTA or completely withdrawing from the deal altogether. He also plans to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He also wants to move the Keystone Pipeline forward by getting rid of the Obama-Clinton roadblocks. Starting on his first day, Trump plans to start picking a new Supreme Court justice from his list of 20 judges. He also plans on defunding all sanctuary cities and begin removing 2 million illegal criminal immigrants currently in the United States. Trump has 10 legislative measures that he will work with Congress to pass, including 4% of economic growth per year, add tariffs to discourage companies from leaving the United States, and end Common Core education. Trump has posted a brief message on his website saying, quote, "On November 8th, Americans will be voting for this 100-day plan to restore prosperity to our economy, security to our communities, and honesty to our government. This is my pledge to you." Reporting for Studio G, I'm Nathan Asselin.
We'll see if Mr. Trump can accomplish his goals and unite this very divided country.
President Obama spoke today about the results of last night's election. Obama says that he wants a peaceful transition when Trump comes into office. He also mentioned that even though Trump's policies are different from his, Americans still have the respect outcome of the election.
We all want want what's best for this country. That's what I heard in Mr. Trump's remarks last night. That's what I heard when I spoke to him directly, and I was heartened by that.
Obama also said to the public that we are not Democrats or Republicans first, but instead we are Americans.
I have to say I admire the way that Hillary and President Obama are accepting these election results.
I completely agree that she called and conceded, and everything was shocking news, I feel like.
I think so too, yeah. This election has been filled with scandal after scandal for the president-elect Donald Trump. Let's take a look.
According to recent reports, President-elect Donald Trump has been involved in many court cases around the United States. Donald Trump's campaign has recently filed a lawsuit, according to NBC, filed a suit with the Clark County because of early voting polls were left open after 7 p.m. on one of the last days for early voting last Friday. Trump claims that people who showed up after 7 p.m. were allowed to vote, even though that is technically against the rules. According to the Reno Gazette-Journal, at 12 p.m. Tuesday, Clark County judges denied the request of Donald Trump's campaign to not count the votes of the people that were placed after 7 p.m. because of the fact that they were still in line prior to the 7 p.m. time of closing. On top of the late voting trial that Donald Trump was recently in, there is also a rape trial with a 13-year-old child that was allegedly released in April 26th. According to the Daily Mail, the woman who opened the case said that she was raped by Donald Trump back in 1994 at the age of 13. This case has recently been dropped because of the fact that the allegations were simply, and I'm quoting, not true. Katie Johnson. Although both of these cases were dropped, there are many other cases that Donald Trump has been involved with. Reporting for Studio G, I'm Amber Michael.
Rio, after all of this, what do you think about Trump trying to sue the registrar?
Well, I don't want to take a position on that, but I can say that no matter what party you are registered under, I think it's a big shock that despite all of his controversies, he made it to the White House.
Right? Well, when we come back, we take a look at the protests from around the nation. Stay tuned.
Our Metropolis is a 30-minute show that airs every Tuesday evening at 91.5. You're going to hear Gary Larson along with our regular contributors talking about what matters to our community. And not only what matters, but why does it matter? We look at our community as a whole, but we also pay special attention to what's happening here at UNLV because that's our home as well. So looking at our Metropolis through the lens of a radio show really gives us the unique perspective to tell a story through words and through people. And I think it makes for a great program.
Sunday evening jazz. I mainly play a lot of contemporary jazz music from the 1960s up until about 2012, 2013. When I go on, just explain who it was, the name of the song, the name of the artist, maybe the name of the album, their career. I just hope that everybody enjoys it. Sunday evening jazz. I mainly play a lot of contemporary jazz music from the 1960s up until about 2012, 2013. When I go on, just explain who it was, the name of the song, the name of the artist, maybe the name of the album, their career. I just hope that everybody enjoys it and appreciate it for the kind of music it is and how great it is. My name is Sam and I host Sunday Evening Jazz on the rebelhd2.com.
I really enjoy doing my show. I love all types of rock, and that's why I'm doing Rock Through the Decades. We play the 50s all the way to today's rock music or rock bands. I want them to get the appreciation of how much rock has changed over the years and how it's still really great. You can never kill rock. I mean, rock is like the way to be, the way to go. The name of my show is Rock Through the Decades, and I am Rockin' Gemini. You can listen to this on the Rebel HD2 network.
The announcement of Donald Trump winning the U.S. presidency has left millions of people around the country full of rage as various protests have broken out in various cities. Protesters took over the freeway of Oakland while chanting, "Not my president," in response to the new elected President Donald J. Trump. Fire broke out during the protests as the crowd set tires and trash on fire and smashed windows of the Oakland Tribune newsroom. The California Highway Patrol declared that one protester resulted with major injuries. In Oregon, anti-Trump supporters took their stand in the middle of the street as they blocked off traffic while protesting against the new president. The anger escalated to the burning of an American flag as protesters felt their patriotism was out the door. The protests forced a delay for trains on 2 light rail lines. More protests have broken out around the country in Berkeley, San Francisco, Pennsylvania, and Washington.
I can't say that I'm surprised that there are protests, and I think no matter who would have won the candidacy, or the presidency, protests would have broken out either way.
I agree, because 50% want Clinton, 50% want Trump, so no matter who wins or loses.
Yeah, and there's
going to be
an undeniable divide in our country right now, so yeah.
I completely agree. On the other hand, now we go to James for weather.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, I know it might be a little bit murky out there when it comes to politics, but out there, outside, it's clear as a whistle. 82 degrees Fahrenheit is our high for right now, while the low is 60. Very quiet, very low, and you know, it's very clear out there, so we have lots to look forward to. But let's go ahead and look at what's happening across the pond. Out in England, you have snow as far as the eye can see, but thankfully here in the country, I'll show you what we have. As it currently stands, 82 degrees Fahrenheit is our high, but for the rest of the week, you can obviously see that we have clear and sunny days ahead. Nothing much to worry about except on Friday, Veterans Day. Make sure to go out there and make a little barbecue and have a good time. Other than that, looking out to the rest of the valley, all the way from Centennial all the way down to Boulder City, we have degrees Fahrenheit, I would say about, it's a margin of about 3. 76 is, of course, the high that we're experiencing, and for the rest of the Clark County area, the low is about in the high 60s, so it's low 70s, high 60s for most of the valley out there, while our highs will be a little bit higher. Now, for the rest of the country, of course, we can see rain is hitting the northwestern coast. All the way across the country, they are seeing snow out in the northeast, and that's the area of New Hampshire. We have, of course, snow up in our Canadian neighbors, and for the rest of the country, we are seeing quite a lot, but it's rain down in south in New Orleans and the Big Easy, rain in the northwestern quadrant of the United States, and snow out in the northeast. So that's currently where we're at, and snow out in England. You saw that picture?
Yeah,
that's a lot of snow.
My goodness. Well, I know we won't be seeing any of that soon or anything like that.
No, it's still so hot out here. I could go swimming today if I wanted.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Well, I have a question for you then. When was the last time you saw snow in Las Vegas?
When we had our snow day.
Yeah,
I think
our
in
snow
2000, what is that, 9?
Doesn't look like we'll have snow this year, huh?
No, not much. But coming up, I have an exclusive interview with Dan Lee and Michael Green. We'll be right back as I go ahead and interview those two people about what we just saw for the election and what we saw for the down ballot race.
Walter from Deep Thought.
My name is Bruce Gill. I'm the host of La Alternativa.
Perfect Music Radio with me, Lily.
My name is Sam, and I host Sunday Evening Jazz.
I am Rockin' Gemini.
This is Jalen Young on More Than Music Mondays.
And listen to us on the Rebel HD2.
As far as Studio G, at first it looks overwhelming, and at first it looks like it's a lot of work, but I'll tell you what, it's the most beneficial class I've had at UNLV to date, without a doubt. You get to not only develop stories and work on your interviewing skills, your editing skills, and your shooting skills from a camera perspective, you get to work on all the equipment that's in the studio. So you're working on audio, you're working on directing, tech directing, you get to produce your own show. You can take a 30-minute newscast and make it your own. And that's really cool about Studio G. Like I said, a lot of it seems overwhelming at first, but it is by far the best class I've taken at UNLV since I've been here.
The show's name is the Rebel and Revolt Show. Pretty good show about, just someone who will actually talk about UNLV the way an outsider might feel. We talk about current events, we talk about politics, try to take an offensive swing with it. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but and then we talk about, the little things in life that everybody laughs about. And we are the Rebels, and we are revolting. My name is Jameson Wilk, and I run the Rebel and Revolt Show, and you can tune in at therebelhd2.com.
Get to do an internship, you have to do an internship. It's one of the requirements for a journalism major. You have to do an internship before you can graduate.
Definitely having an internship as a requirement really helps push yourself out there and to just remind you that that your graduation is coming up soon. You're going to have to need some work experience in your career. So it's really good to put yourself out there early on, and they tend to help students a lot more. So when you do a student internship, it really helps out a lot.
Welcome back to Studio G. Today we have a couple of UNLV's experts on all things politics. History professor Michael Green and political science professor Dan Lee. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey, thank you.
So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about general election. I want to ask you, Dan Lee, what went right with polling? What went wrong with polling for the general election in the United States?
Well, a lot went wrong. When you look at it, we actually predicted a lot of the states correctly, but it was those swing states, right, that the polling's missed. And this was one big question going into it, was how correlated are these polls going to be across states, right? So if Trump wins Florida, how much more likely is he to win the other swing states like North Carolina? And it turns out last night the polls are pretty correlated. They all missed in the same direction.
So, Mr. Green, I'm going to ask you, historically speaking, we have seen some of the similarities to past elections. Of course, we saw New Hampshire almost going towards Donald Trump. We saw a couple of the states that haven't gone for Donald Trump since 1988, I believe, for a couple of states there. Are we seeing a repeat of history of a populist returning to the presidency?
I don't know that we've had many populists as presidents, but we've certainly had populist movements.
Sure.
And they have been movements of, if you go back into the 19th century, rural people unhappy with what is going on in the cities. Is there a similarity here? It kind of looks like it, though you also see Trump getting a lot of white middle-class working men, and he ran ahead of Hillary Clinton with women, white middle-class women. So there is a connection to that. Another connection is that this is the 6th time in the last 7 elections that the Democrat has won the popular vote. Clinton is going to win it. Twice now, that has not led to a victory in the Electoral College. That was happening in the late 19th century, around the time of the populist movement. So there are people who've said this is a new Gilded Age. It very well may be.
Well, again, we're playing back into the disenfranchised voters of the United States, right? Those that feel like that the working class, part of all that, are resurging and needing someone that represents their ideals.
Very much so.
But of course, we have to go to our down ballot in the state. And that's what I want to touch on next. So first off, let's go to the Senate race between Joe Heck and Catherine Cortez Masto. Dan, let me ask you, is this an expected race? Did we expect this race to go this way, at least did you?
I expected whichever they went for, Nevada went for president, would go the same way for the Senate. And I was surprised at how closely that matched up, not just in Nevada, but across a lot of those swing states. Pretty much all the swing states that went for Clinton got a blue senator, and conversely, all the swing states that went for Trump elected a Republican senator. So in that sense, coming into it, it was a toss-up. But then as we were getting the early voting results, and I was kind of leaning towards safer for Clinton and for Cortez Masto by connection.
The Republicans still hold the House and Senate.
Right.
So, I mean, although that our state was able to get Catherine Cortez Masto, Ruben Kihuen, and we still have Dina Titus. Do you think that this speaks more to a Nevadan state of mind changing, or is this status quo to the rest of the country? I mean, Joe Heck was the incumbent, or was the projected winner by most accounts.
Right. I think, this is showing that there has been this trend, and coming into this election year, we were wondering how much has Nevada been swinging to the Democratic side, having gone with Obama the 2 previous elections, and then having its growing Latino and also Asian American population. So how much is that swinging Nevada to the left? And we're seeing, it is swinging towards the left, but this happens to be a year we're not a bellwether state. So again, what does this say for larger politics? I really don't know, because both parties, we've talked a lot about the Republican Party needing to decide the direction they want to go into right after nominating Trump. But now the question is, well, what did the Democrats do?
Well, speaking of a growing high, we have to, of course, move on to the other growing high in the state, question 1. So let me ask you, Mr. Green, do we think that the marijuana policy that has been passed, along with all the other questions, speak to a changing state of mind of not only the state, but the country, of course, we saw the down ballot, we saw the passing of the gun loophole question, we saw the passing of the marijuana legalization policy. Is this speaking more to a changing state of mind for the Nevadans?
Yes and no,
okay.
Frankly. On the background check initiative, Nevadans moving to the left, as Professor Lee said, I think that you're seeing that with the background check barely passing. Nevada is not traditionally a liberal Democratic state. When it's been Democratic, it's been more moderate or conservative. This time, I think that the vote for Clinton and Cortez Masto also had an impact there, or maybe vice versa. On the marijuana initiative, what we come back to is Nevada's opposite tradition, which is libertarianism. It's that tradition that got us legalized gambling when no one else would have it. It's that tradition that still allows rural Nevada to have legal prostitution. And there's been a bit of a knocking of the heads between cultural conservatives and libertarian conservatives in Nevada in the last few years. If you look at, say, gay marriage, which passed overwhelmingly back in the early 2000s, and that does not strike you as libertarian. Well, the marijuana initiative appealed to both the libertarian and the liberal inclinations, and so you get sometimes politics making strange bedfellows.
And Mr. Lee, I want to ask you the same question. Are we experiencing a changing state of Nevada mind, or the changing of the state of mind of Nevadans with these passing of initiatives?
I mean, I think we've always seen sort of a libertarian spirit here. I mean, even looking at question 3 and deregulating for energy, just seeing that as well. So I think, right, we are moving to the left, but we have also kind of on these questions more libertarian sort of leanings as well, yeah.
So a question I have for you is one of our neighboring states. We saw California, of course, pass legalized marijuana. And something else I want to pull on is we are seeing a current changes state for our state economics. We're moving more towards our high-tech functions. So we have Tesla, we have Apple up in Reno. Are we seeing a more closening of relationships between California and Nevada with the tech field moving into our state? Well, a question I have for you, Mr. Green, is the Southwest going to become synonymous? Nevada will just fall into California-like politics?
I don't think so. Partly because if you look at California, it is overwhelmingly Democratic right now. I mean, the new Senator Kamala Harris, her opponent was a Democrat because they go with the top 2 vote getters from the primary.
Sure.
Nevada, I do not think that would have happened. There are people who complain, oh, there are Californians moving to Nevada. A lot of the Californians who move to Nevada are trying to get away from regulation, or they're coming here for jobs, whatever. What we did see in the 2015 legislature was a Republican legislature raise taxes. Now, that doesn't normally happen. One of the main reasons was Governor Sandoval's efforts to diversify the economy were having problems because of our K-12 system. And people from the likes of Tesla and Apple saying, we're not going to come here with our kids. You need a better educational system. That will take money.
So do you think the money coming from the marijuana legalization will propel state education into a new era?
Oh, we might be educated in ways we couldn't have imagined.
Yes.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly how much money will come from these things. People think that gambling was legalized in 31 to get the tax money, and it really wasn't that. And the state didn't get a lot of tax money. Most of the fees stayed in the localities. So it may be interesting to see, does Las Vegas, or more accurately Clark County, more broadly speaking, does it have certain connections that Washoe County will have certain connections and other parts of the state may or may not?
Another question I want to ask is one of the other initiatives that we had, which was the gun loophole that was passed. I know the NRA, they are a powerful presence here in town, but Michael Bloomberg had his $5 million industry, Every Town for Gun Safety, doing lots of advertisements and lots of groundwork here in the state, and it ended up passing. I want to ask you, Mr. Lee, when it comes to the background checks, was that something that we saw as not only a given that was going to happen as we currently stand to see it, or was it meant to be a contentious initiative that was meant to be a toss-up?
Right. I mean, well, gun control is probably one of the most important partisan issues, right, or more partisan issues right now. So coming into this election, definitely, whoever was going to win, bring out more of their supporters, Democrats or Republicans, was going to play a large role in whether that would pass. So in a way, for that passing, it was good. It was during a presidential election year when turnout's going to be higher and tend to attract more Democrats to the polls.
So one more thing. Give me one sentence of your one takeaway from this election. Mr. Green, you go first.
I think the United States is very divided, but doesn't know which way it wants to be divided.
And Mr. Lee, one takeaway?
Voter turnout matters. Voter mobilization matters a lot.
Well, Professor Green, Professor Lee, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And when we come back, Canada might be expecting an influx in their population, so stay tuned for that.
On-air personality, and that's what my career is. It feels really incredible because I've been wanting to do something like this for my whole entire life since I was little.
I mean, it's an opportunity to express myself, get my voice out in public, and get heard for things that I feel strongly about.
This station helped me out a lot, gave me a lot of information I didn't know about a radio station in general.
I mean, it was really easy to get a show here. I took the classes and did the shadowing. They give you a lot of freedom to do what you like, and I feel like there's a lot of support in places you can get answers to.
It's just an incredible experience because I could take what I learned here and I could turn it into something more.
Oh, the station's great. You make friends, you gain skills, you learn how to do all this stuff with audio. It's a fantastic thing.
I can grow with everyone and everybody supports me as well as I can support them.
I think it's great. I think it's a blessing to have this kind of equipment from the Green Spun family as well as the state of Nevada.
And it's really informative to see, how a radio show really works.
Now that I do it, I have friends, I have people that want to hang out, and I get to play music a lot.
It's very good too because we have all the top of the line equipment to work with and students here that can help you out, so it's a very, very good way to get involved in the radio.
While some Americans are willing to stick it out through Trump's presidency for 4 years, others are looking to our northern neighbors as sanctuary. The Canadian government's immigration website crashed Tuesday night. Experts believe the U.S. election played a major role. Business Insider reports the site went down around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and access has been spotty since. Online searches regarding moving to Canada and becoming a Canadian citizen grew in recent months.
That's so interesting that, it's kind of predictable that everyone wants to move to Canada now, but do you really think that's a good solution?
I don't think so.
It's not practical, but...
It's not practical.
Do you think it will really happen, though, do you think anyone's actually going to move to Canada?
I think it's one thing if it's happening on the internet, but we'll see if it actually happens.
Well, thank you for tuning in today. I'm Catherine Ho.
And I'm Rio Lockenlolly.
Follow us on social media, and if you're interested in getting more local news, be sure to pick up an issue of The Rebel Yell.
See you tomorrow for another episode of Studio G.